Instead of providing Ukraine with new weapons, the Trump administration is once again freezing the aid allocated by his predecessor. Even Republican congressmen are shocked by this. Here, Brian Fitzpatrick has officially called for an emergency briefing at the White House and the Department of Defense to verify the accuracy of these reports, check the country's current stockpiles of weapons and ammunition, and ensure that the United States will continue to provide Ukraine with the resources it urgently needs to defend its people. So, do we have a chance of getting American Patriots anytime soon, which are absolutely vital for protection against Russia? TSN's international correspondent Yana Slesarchuk has been looking into the information leaks and official statements.
After the NATO summit in The Hague, where the other alliance leaders did literally everything to appease Donald Trump, and where Zelensky spoke with him for almost an hour, America is once again blocking already allocated aid. This has shocked many people in Europe. At first, people don't trust this information. Then it turns out that it was simply in Poland where the shipment, already on its way to Ukraine, was blocked. Among other things, it includes 252 guided missiles for HIMARS, 142 Hellfire missiles, 30 Patriot missiles, 25 Stinger missiles, and 8,500 shells. State Department spokesperson Amy Bruce confirms there is a delay, but urges not to draw any conclusions.
This will not be a factor because we have not paused weapons shipments to Ukraine. This is just one situation, one case where there were changes. As you heard from the Department of Defense, there are many other opportunities and resources related to the weapons being sent to Ukraine. But I am not speaking on behalf of the Department of Defense. This is not, I emphasize, this is not a halt to American aid to Ukraine.
However, for now, it does look exactly like that. The publication Politico, which was the first to report on the delivery delays, continues to bring news from behind the scenes at the White House. They say that even Trump's closest allies are shocked by such a decision, which, according to journalists, was made unilaterally at the Pentagon under the leadership of a certain Elbridge Colby, the director of policy at the Department of Defense. Under the slogan, "We need these weapons more ourselves." At least at the State Department, that is, the American equivalent of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they knew nothing about this.
Right now, at the working level between Ukraine and the United States, all the details regarding the supply of defense support are being clarified, including the air defense component. One way or another, we have to ensure protection for our people.
The response from Defense Department spokesperson Sean Parnell is extremely vague. The Pentagon is not ready to report to the public. This confirms what Politico reported, that most people in Washington did not expect this. Regarding aid to Ukraine, the United States now says they are planning to withhold certain assistance. Ukraine responds that this will only push Russia toward further aggression. And what do you have to say about that?
Well,
he stated this even during the election campaign, that he just wants to stop people from dying. Here at the department, we support these goals and missions. We have established a framework to analyze which munitions are sent where to help the President and the Secretary of Defense make decisions. Our task here at the Department of Defense is to put the President's credo, America First, into action.
In a column for the New York Times, former advisor to previous President Biden, Jake Sullivan, writes, "With the latest massive strikes on Ukraine, Putin is not just trying to deplete Ukraine's stockpiles. He also wants to test what America's response will be. And so far, there is nothing the Kremlin doesn't like. The less weapons are supplied to Ukraine, the sooner the war will end," says Putin's spokesperson, unable to hide a smile. There is nothing to replace the Patriot systems in Ukraine. This is our only defense against Russian Iskanders and Kinzhals. Several European governments are already considering the possibility of purchasing American weapons, reports Politico, in order to then transfer them to Ukraine. Yana Slesarchuk, TSN 1+1.
A military airfield and a factory in Russia were hit. By morning, the authorities of the aggressor country reported drone attacks in 4 regions. Explosions were heard, in particular, in the city of Lipetsk, where an airfield with Su-34, Tu-35 and MiG aircraft is located, and also in Ilyets, where a battery factory called Energia is or was operating. It manufactures spare parts, including for drones that are sent to bomb Ukraine, and also batteries for Russian aircraft and Navy. In another part of the city, according to the governor, a fire broke out in the parking lot of one of the enterprises, which was not specified, after a drone crashed. People were evacuated from the workshops. Preliminarily, there are no dead or injured. According to the same governor, another drone hit a section of an apartment building currently under construction, as well as a private residential house in the district. One person is reportedly dead and 2 others were injured. In the morning, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported that allegedly air defense systems destroyed 69 Ukrainian drones. And while they were shooting them down, Telegram channels wrote about temporary flight restrictions that were introduced at airports in the Saratov and Tambov regions of Russia. By the way, the head of the second region didn't write anything about the drone attack, but did report a fire at one of the enterprises in the city of Kotovsk. Who knows, maybe it's one of the gunpowder, plastics, or equipment factories in the city that supply the occupiers' army.
There it is, flying like a motorcycle, or maybe that's actually a bike. Oh, damn. Unbelievable. Now that's a string of lights in the yard. I've never seen anything like this before, guys.
Explosions went off one after another at 10:30 in Konotop. That's in the Sumy region. We are waiting for official reports on the consequences of this attack. And in the morning, Poltava came under attack. There are dead and wounded there. Explosions were heard in the city at 8:30 in the morning. Residents filmed several black columns of smoke. Fires broke out at several locations in Poltava. It is already known that one of the strikes was near the Territorial Recruitment Center. According to the land forces, a fire started on the territory of a private enterprise. Preliminary reports indicate 2 dead and 11 wounded. Emergency services are working at the scene. And enemy drones caused havoc in Kherson this morning, with 2 people wounded. Another 9 people were injured the day before due to shelling in Antonivka, Zmivka, and Kherson itself. 2 apartment buildings and 7 private houses were damaged. A woman was wounded by the occupiers in Zaporizhia. They struck Orikhiv with tube artillery. In total, they shelled 9 settlements more than 400 times. They also attacked with aviation and multiple rocket launchers. A drone strike hit the center of Sumy. This happened yesterday evening. The blast wave shattered the window of a minibus passing by. The passengers survived. And in the Kharkiv region, 2 people were injured as a result of FPV drone attacks. They were hospitalized from Vesely and Shestakov with blast injuries.